Hey y'all, it's April the 22nd, 2017. Sometimes we like to take a bit of time out of our day to discuss things that are bizarre. Right, and I want to encourage people out there. First of all, leave comments. Leave comments. I don't care if you agree, don't agree, whatever you do. Leave some comments, man. Holler at me about some stuff. Share some bizarre things with me. All right. I appreciate all the bizarre things people bring to me. And I like to bring bizarre things to y'all's attention. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Alright, real briefly, I got to mention that the story begins thusly. I come home, long day at work and stuff. I didn't understand all the memes that were going on, all the headlines, all the news and stuff. I was diving into the world of the internet, becoming acquainted with it after a long day of work. I saw one of these memes in particular that I'm going to share with you right now. I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but I left the link down below. You can see it. You can see all the words involved if you want to read. But the meme starts off like this. Basically, there's a person by the name of Davy White on Facebook. It's very popular person. She puts out a meme, and basically it's an open-ended question or something. It's basically like, out of all my religious friends, a lot of times she wonders to herself if all these religious friends she has secretly go home and they secretly behind closed doors and behind her back find Davy White to be evil, an evil person, a no good person, right? And they think that secretly into her face they might act differently, but she wonders if sometimes behind the scenes if they're thinking she's evil, pure evil. And so, a lot of people responded to the meme that was put out, and I think they responded accordingly. Right? A lot of people said either no, a lot of people said no, or a lot of people said, if religious people do think that you're evil and they're hating on you in secret, well, then they're assholes and stuff. Basically, that was the whole of all the answers, and in a lot of different ways, people were responding accordingly. They were doing what they should do and reaffirming Davy White that no, she's not pure evil and stuff, and there's no reason for her to be wondering something like that anyways. Trying to go ahead and put that to rest. And I caught the meme very late in the day, and everybody had said all these sort of elaborate responses, and so I figured all these words have been said already, and they're all good, and I agree with all the words. So I just put one word. I said no. Thing is, I put no. That was like my vote. If this was a poll being taken, that was kind of like I said no. Thing is, I don't know if you would categorize myself as being religious anyways. That's something that I want us to meditate on real quick. You know what I'm saying? And we've been doing it lately. The fact is, what's religious? What does that word mean? All right. I'm still trying to grasp it because, believe it or not, there's multiple definitions of religious. All right. So what does it mean? Who's religious? Am I religious? I don't know. But maybe Davy White out there, she assumes that maybe I am religious. And maybe I'm one of these people out there. She might think that I think she's evil, like in secret. Like I secretly think that she's an evil person. And so I said no. Alright, basically, that was the short answer. That was the most accurate answer I could give is I personally don't. I said no. Alright, and then what happened was something that was very bizarre, like I said. Alright, this is where stuff's going to get very bizarre. And on the internet is where it tends to get bizarre the most, am I right? There's a lot of bizarre stuff on the internet taking place, alright? You can see a lot of human behavior, and you can study it for lifetimes, basically. You know what I'm saying? There's oceans of bizarre behavior going on the internet. And I want to point this out, because if you go to the link and you follow my response, you're going to notice something very bizarre that takes place afterwards. Notice a person coming from left field. Now, you might call the person a troll or something like that. I don't know what you would call that person. I wouldn't call that person a troll. Right? I don't know what to call that person. I don't know much about the person, but Kevin Casey pops up. Right? You'll note that Kevin Casey makes a response directly to my response for some reason. Now, my response was only the word no. See, it's pretty straight to the point, but Kevin Casey wasn't having it, and this is where his bizarre behavior starts to take place. Now, we don't have time, honestly. We really do not have time to read all the words that take place. You're probably a faster reader than I am. If you follow the link, you can see all the words that take place. But let me reassure you, all the comments that happen after that subsequently are all very bizarre. All right, like, and you'll note that basically what's happening is Kevin Casey's giving me an ultimatum. He says, look here. He says, look, either you believe in Jesus or Davy White's going to hell and she's going to burn for eternity. And I was like, what? I was like, dude, that is a crazy ultimatum. You know, there has to be a third choice in this, but no. Kevin Casey, according to Kevin Casey, dude, either I believe in Jesus or Davy White is looking at some bad times. And I was like, dude, I refuse to be a part of this ultimatum. It's basically what I was getting at. Meanwhile, if you go down all the way to the end of the feed, and I promise you it's the end of the feed, alright? Don't have any more time to keep going with the feed, but here, I want to read this out to you because it's the last comment that Kevin Casey leaves, and it's actually even the most bizarre of all the comments, alright? He took his time with this. He took his time in marinating in bizarre thought process, and he went ahead and he left this. It's very bizarre. And also, we're about to touch a little bit on the Bible. We're going to have some Bible study at the same time. It's very bizarre, though. Let me read it out to you. It says this. Kevin Casey says this. He says, let's try and simplify it for you since you seems to be struggling. Alright, that's how he starts out the comment. It seems kind of condescending or whatever. Thing is, I was just refusing to agree to the ultimatum. And he says, you seem to be not understanding my ultimatum. So let me break down my ultimatum even more simpler for you. He says this. Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And then he lists that it's John 14, verse 6, in case if you didn't know. All right, so then after he says that, he lays down the verse. Then he says, so nobody can go to heaven except as a believer of Jesus Christ. Now the thing is, you can look at that excerpt that he just shared with us so graciously. You can look at that and you could assume, and I can see how you would assume that what Jesus is saying is the only way you're going to heaven is through if you believe in me. All right, you can assume that through the verse, but if you read the verse carefully, and this is the one that Kevin Casey shared. If you read the verse carefully, it says nothing about heaven. And I do want to just bring that up. This is your argument. You just said that means something that he didn't say. Jesus, in that very particular line, he might have said it in other times, but you didn't mention that at all. Jesus in that line he said nothing about heaven at all. So that's where your argument it already fell flat on his face. Alright? And that's cool because sometimes my arguments sometimes fall flat on their face. But the thing is, it continues to be very bizarre. It actually continues. It's a long paragraph. Hold on, let me scroll up and stuff. I can't see it because Facebook's blocking me. Alright, so here's where it gets more bizarre. Kevin Casey, he then says this. He says, so therefore, Davy White, and he calls Davy White out by name. He says, Davy White, and her name's all highlighted in blue. He says, so therefore, Davy White and I will not be going to heaven according to your Christian beliefs. There is no way around that. First of all, again, I feel like you're issuing me an ultimatum. And I feel as though there probably is a way around that. But you're telling me there isn't. Here's what's bizarre. If you didn't catch it, it seems as though what Kevin Casey is doing is he's putting himself in a very small boat with Davy White. All right, and wherever Davy White goes is where Kevin Casey goes, and vice versa. That's what he's doing in his very bizarre statement. As stuff starts to unravel at this point, it's very bizarre. It's like he puts himself on a small boat, and they're definitely going to the same exact place, whether it's a heaven or hell. They're definitely going there together. And it might make you wonder, like say if you were Davy White, it might make you wonder, what makes this man put himself on a very small boat with me so that we're going to the same place no matter what? That's what I want to ask as a question, because it starts to seem very bizarre. It's like maybe both y'all are atheists and that's what y'all have in common and stuff. Meanwhile, that's not That's not really something that it's not really a box that people should even be putting themselves in. To tell you the truth, man. And we can go into all this sort of stuff. We've already discussed labels and how labels can be dangerous. So we're not gonna really go into. But labels are dangerous, right? You don't want to be putting yourself in small boats with complete strangers and saying, okay, well, wherever you go is where I go after we die. Right? But that's what Kevin Casey specifically and explicitly does with Davey White. And you find that that's kind of bizarre because it's not like they're soulmates or something like that. But that's what Kevin Casey does. And then he continues. He says, therefore, if you do not believe Davey White is evil, then Yahweh is sending an innocent, non-evil person to be tortured, hear this, for eternity for not being a follower of Jesus. All right. See, now, not only is his wording very bizarre, the situations in his mind are very bizarre. Not only that, but he's now accusing Yahweh, and now he's referring to Jesus as Yahweh. I don't know why he switched up the names, but either way, it's the same person. So he says Yahweh is sending an innocent, non-evil person such as Davey White. He said Davey White by name. He said, therefore, if you do not believe that Davey White specifically is evil, then Yahweh is sending an innocent, non-evil person to be tortured for eternity. If not, thing is, here's what I gotta point out: Jesus Christ never damned Davey White to hell for eternity. He's never done that. And meanwhile, it seems as though that the jury is out for Kevin Casey. Apparently, Yahweh has definitely decided that Davey White is going to burn in Hades forever. Apparently, that decision has already been made, according to Kevin Casey. And you see where we're starting to drift into Twilight Zone land. Right? He's accusing God of doing something that God never did. All right? That never happened. But, however, he is accusing a God that doesn't exist, according to him, of doing some crazy, terrible stuff that literally never happened yet in history. All right, so he then goes on to say this. He says, that's evil. He said, it's evil to be a follower of Jesus. Therefore, he said, that's evil. There is no way around that. He repeats it. He says it for the second time. He says, there's no way around that. Please believe there's all sort of ways around that. What you're issuing is an ultimatum, by definition, all right? So he says there's no way around that. Sending an innocent and good person to be tortured for eternity is evil. I would have to agree that probably is evil. Nowhere in the Bible does Jesus say, hey, I'm going to send all sort of great people to to hell forever. It's like, I don't care what you think because they didn't pray my name and stuff. Like, nowhere in the Bible does it really say that I'm going to take the best of them and if I can just totally torture them forever because my name is Jesus. It's like, dude, he never said any of this. And that's the thing about it. If we're going to just go by what the Bible says, he ain't never said none of this. You're accusing him of stuff that he never admitted to. Alright, so he said, that's evil. He said, if you think Davey, and he calls Davey White out by name yet again. Dude, if I was Davey White, I'd be very concerned with how many times my name comes up. Because first of all, in this conversation, Davey White and Kevin Casey were in a very small boat, metaphorically speaking, together. And wherever they went is where they were going to go together in this very small boat. Now Davey White is in it alone because he's not even mentioning himself no more. He said this. He said, if you think Davey White is evil, and just Davey White, not just nobody else, but Davey White, he said, if you think Davey White is evil, which I never implied I ever said, and he said, if you think she's evil, then you might consider Yahweh justified, and so Yahweh could be considered not evil or something. He's basically saying that I had to secretly in my closet alone meditate on how evil Davey White is, and that's the only way that I can convince myself that Jesus is good, is a good thing. Alright, so it's just like my brain is a pretzel right now. It's kind of hard to, I don't know where he's going with this, and so I read a little bit further because unfortunately it does get more worse. All right, it was bad and it did get worse. He says, if you think David White is evil, you had to think she's evil, all right, because you had to secretly think she's evil, or else you can't worship Jesus, because Jesus is damning David White to hell, basically, is what's been established. He said, I still think it's evil to send anyone to infinite torture for finite crimes. But you can make that argument if you wish. It's like, yeah, I could make that argument if I wish. However, I've never made that argument in my life. All right, never in the world did I say that Jesus is, just throwing all sort of Davy Whites in hell. Just simply because whatever. Here's the main point I want to get at before we get on out of here. I don't know who's going to hell, who's not going to hell. That's the thing about it. I'm given all sort of ultimatums, and I'm told like, oh yeah, you had to believe in this person's going to hell. I have no idea who's going to hell. And the thing is about Christianity and all that Christianity thing is nobody knows. That's the point. Only one person knows. It's like, that's the whole point. That I don't know who's going to hell. And meanwhile, you're giving me all sort of ultimatums telling me that I must damn Davy White to hell right now, or I don't believe in Jesus. It's quite bizarre. And so he answered on this note. He says, and I want you to put this in quotations. If I was Davy White, I would go ahead and frame this exact quote, because here's the thing. He just took Jesus out of context. He already did that. Jesus was still making sense. Jesus still totally refuted the rest of what Kevin Casey even had to say, but he answered on this note. He says, there is no scenario where both Davy White and Yahweh are good. All right, doesn't that sound like the ultimate ultimatum? All right, but he says there is no. Just meditate on that. Can you imagine someone saying that about you? All y'all out there, can you imagine if someone said this? There is no scenario on humans' God green earth that Davy White is not going to burn in Hades and Jesus is good. That's okay. What he literally said is there is no scenario where both Davy White and Yahweh are good. He said either Davy White is destined for Hades and all sort of torture and stuff, or Jesus ain't good. That's how he ended the whole paragraph. He said if Davy White is good, then Yahweh is evil. If Yahweh is good, then Davy White is evil. He said, take your pick, Gerard Johnsky. I'm going to end it like that. He said, either one's good and one's evil, or just not. He said, if Jesus is good, then fuck Davy White. Or basically, he said, throw Davy White in the den. That's what he's saying. He's saying that's what I'm saying. I've never said that. I'm being accused of things that I haven't said. Jesus being accused of things that he hadn't said. And somehow I'm supposed to pick between Jesus and throwing Davy White into an eternal pit of flames. Alright, quite bizarre. And I'm supposed to take my pick. I'm not going to take my pick. Anyways, it's a tribulation, you guys. April the 22nd, 2017. I'll have to holler at y'all later.